Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. Someone asked me the other day how to make like a light gun shooting gallery thing, where it in real life it would pulse out a laser or something. There'd be a light sensor on the target, and if it gets hit by the laser, then it does something. I guess you get points, or it dings, or whatever. So I thought I'd have a look at how to do that kind of thing. So for the actual target, I'll have a sculpt, cylindrical in shape, like that. So then we get a grab sensor, and we can stab anywhere, or we can, while holding it, hold L1, and it will stick to different objects in the scene. So if we stick it to the surface of the target, then it will be kind of linked to it, and it will say, am I grabbing that object that it's linked to? But it also has grabbed, it has hovered as well. So if I do a quick visual thing, like a keyframe that makes it glow, then I can just wire that hovered into the keyframe, and while I'm hovering over it with the imp, that keyframe will make the target glow. So now if I go into play mode, and when I hover over it, it glows. Then I want to know if I am shooting, if I pressed X or something, for example. So for that, I will have a chip over here with a controller sensor, which is this gadget here, and we don't need to possess it or anything, so I'll just remove these wires, and instead of possessable, we'll make it remote controllable. And now when I'm pressing buttons and stuff, it's all live and just sending out the signals. So if I use just X for now, I could power this grab sensor, because we only care if we're holding X and grabbing it. So now while I'm hovering over it, nothing happens, like this. If I'm holding X, nothing happens. If I'm holding X and hovering over it, then it lights up. And if I kind of copy these to make a load of different ones, we need to wire that into each of them. So I'm holding L1 when I place it into a power, and then it makes a new wire from the same place. And then the last one. So if I'm hovering over them, nothing happens. Holding X, nothing happens. If I'm holding X and hovering over one of them, then it lights up just that one. So that will trigger logic or something. But if I hold X and keep holding it, it's stays lit up instead of just pulsing, instead of triggering it that it's been shot. Which also means if I move away and come back, and then it still thinks I'm shooting again, and I can just hold X and just wiggle the imp around, and that's not what we want. We want the player to keep on having to press X every time. To make this a little easier to copy around, I'm just going to turn that grab sensor off, and instead use a keyframe to turn it on. And I'll just use X for now, as we had it before. And this works the same. When I hold X, then that keyframe gets powered, and that grab sensor gets powered. When I'm not holding X, the grab sensor isn't powered. So, and when I copy these, I don't have to wire this into the power of every one of them. It automatically links this same keyframe to all these new copies. So that will work the same as we had before, but it will be easier to copy these around. But we want to know only when we start pressing X. So when we're not pressing X, and then we go to pressing X, and that kind of changes, then we want this to immediately turn this on briefly and then turn off again. So if we use a signal manipulator, we can wire that into it, and it has settings in here for different ways of manipulating that signal. One of them is pulse on input on. So when the input, which is X, goes from off to on, it will pulse. It will output a signal for a brief time and then turn off again. So we use that to power the keyframe. Now if I play time and press X, it kind of flashes on like that. Let's see if that works in here. Yeah, so it just kind of flashes on and knows that I've hit it. So that's cool. And again, I can just copy these. And now I can, like, I'm holding X, but it's not triggering anything a second time or anything. Cool, so I have to press it on every target to actually hit it. Now, what do you want this to look like? But it could just look like the imp, that's fine. If you want it to look different, you can make it look different using a hand/imp tracker. So this is just a special group, basically. You can like scope into it and scope out of it. This is a special group which just follows the imp or the hand. If you're using the move controllers, the imp follows how you're holding the controller in your hand. So it's following your hand as well. This is where the imp will show up. And it will follow around the imp just perfectly like that. So you could put in here a hastily made light gun shape, dum dum dum, like that. And that's where the imp's going to appear, so you can like line it up how you want. And the arrow on this gizmo thing is like where your imp will be pointing into the scene. So if we have that lined up if we have the gun shape lined up with that, then it will kind of match how we're thinking about aiming and stuff. Okay, and now we can like point around and stuff. So if you hover over it still with the imp tip, the little glowing bit at the top of the imp, and then press X, then it still works. But the gun is kind of pointing in a funny direction. It's not pointing from our viewpoint through the imp tip. It's kind of pointing into the scene instead. So there's a setting to change that called gun style. And now it will aim away from the view and into the scene. So it's always pointing away, just like the imp was always pointing away. And now I can like point and press X, and it's like matching where it appears to be aiming with the gun shape. And then we can hide the imp, so we only see the gun shape part of that tracker. And there we go. That all works. And I guess we should do something more interesting with the target. First, let's put a chip on here that will contain our effects or whatever. There we go. And I surface snapped that onto that object as well, so I can just put this grab sensor in there. And because the parent chip is surface snapped and linked to the object, so is the grab sensor. So it'll all work as normal. Oh, let's move back. There we go. I just noticed a potential problem where this is a sculpt, and so it can collide with stuff. But we don't actually want it to collide with stuff. So we can just scope in and tweak it so that it's non-collidable. Just turn off collidable. And now it will just clip through things instead. So you may not want it to like clip through like that, in which case you probably want to have a camera set up. So if we just add a camera like here, then if you select the camera or tweak it, then it will show this shape. And this is where the imp will go on the surface of this shape. So if I just go in here and then go to edit mode and select that again, the imp is right on the surface of that. It's like that is the screen on which the imp can move around. So we can like make that shorter, and then it would be closer like that. I'll just have it explode. Effects. Explosion. Right, so then we can, when this is grabbed, it will make it glow, and we can emit with an emitter in once mode, no speed. We can emit that effect over the top of the target, like that. That'll do. And also it can destroy itself. So yeah, it will power that destroyer, it'll destroy this object, but it'll also emit that effect on top of it. So let's see what that does. Not bad. Because we're now emitting that object, it's turned it off. So if we go to show hide, preview invisibility and turn that off, we can now see the original effect. And in here we can like add stuff. Let's have a look in here. And I'm just going to add a sound effect. I'll do that, but like make it shorter or something. Can even make it 3D so that it sounds like it's coming from that direction. So if I have a load of targets like that. So you should have heard it going from like left to right in your headphones or whatever. Oh, it's one problem is that doesn't destroy itself, I don't think. I reckon if I could do that. So this goes down over 4 seconds, and then this one will say when it's off, so when it goes from positive to 0, after that 4 seconds, then it will destroy itself. And that should hopefully work. So let's link it up to the group. Yeah, it destroys itself. And probably like add to a score. So let's have a score in here. And then a score modifier in here that gets powered to add 10 every time you get a thing. I'll have like a smaller one that will score 50. And with this one, I'll tint it a different color. Okay, with hue cycle. There we go. And this one will be like shot up into the air. So if I get a emitter, I'll like point it up in the air like that. Because I'm emitting these, we need this keyframe to re-link up to the grab sensor. And to do that, it actually has invisible wires going from keyframes to the thing they're affecting. But an emitter, by default, doesn't re-link those wires. So we need to turn on emit with wires, and now it should work. Okay, and then I'll like move it back and forth. And if we just put that on ping pong, it'll bounce back and forth. And I can make it really fast. It's like, you see how it's flinging it off into the distance and stuff? That's because the emitter has ignore parent speed off. So when this is going really fast and this gets emitted, it's going really fast. If we turn that ignore parent speed on, it won't care how fast the emitter is going. It will just emit it like that. We also want these to be non-collidable. And it's going a bit too far because it's like arcing like that. So I'll bring down the amplification so it doesn't go as far. Okay. And let's just quickly display our score. Yeah, put it up there. Oh. The problem is that's a bit too snug. Let's do that. That feels better. And we can make that non-collidable again. Oh. There you go. And I think I'd probably do it with R2 and put this onto threshold. So when R2 goes beyond that amount, then we want it to pulse and do the same thing. So you can use X or R2 for this game. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.